This is choreographed.
Hey, Dad, can you hear me? Turn him.
Turn him.
Can you hear me, Dad?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Should I not hear you?
Maybe not.
Do you want to go back the other way? Do you want to go back to the home?
What? Okay, before I start, I just want to tell everyone, Bill Berthium is now my favorite cousin because he told me that I'm hot. And anyone that tells me at 58 years old that I'm hot, I love you. My sisters don't like it, I know. Okay, so here we go again. The four of us growing up.
You have 20 pages.
I do not. It's in big print because I need to be able to read it.
Are we home again?
Back on Main Street. You want to go to the home?
It's in big print because I can't read it. So here we go again. The four of us kids growing up were usually told to let David go first. He's the baby.
Older boy.
Now as adults, David says, let Lori go first. She's the oldest. I think it's just his way of pointing out how much older I am than him.
That would be a lot older.
But I'm hot.
This is my cousin.
So the older I get, and according to my baby brother, I am old. And always have been since I am 7 years older than he is. Anyways, the older I get, the more I seem to be reminiscing lately about the past and the fun times. Dad, you gave us many fun times. I remember sitting on your lap as a little girl, or watching you smoke your pipe, or read the newspaper, sitting in your chair, filleting the fish at the kitchen sink that you caught that day, whistling for us when we were in the schoolyard. That meant it was time for us to come home. No one had a whistle like my dad, or his sitting at the head of the table for our suppers that we always ate together as a family. I remember catching my first fish, and him bringing me to Pepe's to show it off. As a little girl, I remember Mom would get us three girls ready for a special occasion, Christmas, Easter, etc., and then send us off to the living room while she got David ready. And the three of us girls would line up and show off our dresses to Dad, and we would twirl around for him, and he would smile and always tell us how beautiful we looked. Dad, that's why I wore a dress today. How did I do? I remember many Sunday mornings waking up to country music, playing on the stereo that played records, and I know my grandchildren have no idea what that is. And Dad cooking blueberry pancakes.
Still does.
And I remember the trailer truck, how I loved my dad driving the trailer truck. Sometimes he even brought it home and parked it in the driveway, and all the neighborhood kids got to see that my dad drove a trailer truck. Many surprises came home to us in that trailer truck, including dry ice that we got to play with outside, and believe it or not, even a big snapping turtle one day that we got to play with. I loved it when it was my turn to go with Dad for the day in his trailer truck and watch him work. I was small enough that I could lay down on the big seat and sleep, so Dad thought he was having company, but most of the time while he was driving, I was not the company he was expecting because I was sleeping. However, we would always stop at the bakery on Mechanic Street for breakfast. To this day, my favorite pastry is that Danish pastry with lemon on one side and raspberry on the other. On the way home, it was hot dog Annie's. I'd get to play in the trailer, hide in the trailer, meet all of Dad's customers, including the ones at Cape Cod, who were my favorites because they were the friendliest and they had lobster. Then there was spring cleaning, Now don't get me wrong, it was Mom that taught me spring cleaning, and every year we did spring and fall cleaning, but it was Dad that instilled it in me because he would have us do GI parties.
Yeah, it's bad.
If Mom was gone for some reason, such as in the hospital, Dad would have us do a GI party.
I didn't leave.
In the hospital. You were probably having David.
I didn't go anywhere.
So Mom always came home to a clean house because Dad had us clean it from top to bottom, and that meant pulling out appliances and everything. We had a clean house. Mom would come home, and I always wondered if that was just Dad's way of not worrying about Mom while she was in the hospital. But I know that at least once a year I have a clean house because I do that spring cleaning like a GI party. I have had the privilege and great honor of being walked down the wedding aisle on my dad's arm twice. They say that a girl usually wants... Leanne, you were twice. You married the same guy twice.
I did. She did. He was that hot.
They say that a girl usually wants to marry someone just like her dad. Well, I did just that the second time around. There are things about Paul that he does and says that I can see my dad saying and doing. I told Luann once, and she said, I find that a little disturbing. My grandson Brian and I have talked about this since he moved in with us, and even he has noticed the similarities. 2 peas in a pod.
He's going to be a good man.
He is. In fact, tonight, I had my 2 granddaughters over, and I was getting them ready to go to this party, and Paul's sitting out in the RAV waiting for us, and I got a text saying, I'm waiting, and I know if we had cell phones back then, he would have texted Mom saying, I'm waiting. She would have been getting us ready. Most of all, Dad, you taught me that a man that seemed so big and tough to me could and should also be so sensitive and tender. Dad never just says, I love you to us. He says, I love you big, big. I saw my dad cry when Uncle Paul died, when he hugged me the day Pepe Martin had his first heart attack, and at all 4 of our weddings. He has cried in sadness and in happiness. My dad was at my house to visit on the day I brought home my son Colby from the hospital after he was born, and that has always meant so much to me that he did that on his own. I am blessed to have found a husband that is as sensitive as my dad. I am blessed to have a dad that is a great-grandfather that my grandchildren get so excited to see and run to give hugs to. I am blessed to be able to say that Earl Martin is my dad. I am blessed to be your daughter. I love you. I love you, big, big dad.